talk a lot about MMIP, and I talk a lot about it in the context of workplaces. And I think because there's so many connections in workplaces that it's important that people are educated about issues related to MMIP. Systems in place that are contributing to Tanya Neepanak, to Linda Mary Beardy, to the other women, all ending up in landfills, and what those employers could have done to mitigate health and safety. Okay, so what about the fact that you have women that are ending up in garbage bins systemically, we see it, and they're ending up in landfills. So what is the Health and Safety Committee doing about the fact that their workplaces are ending up becoming crime scenes? Workplace health and safety on why they didn't report it, Linda Mary Beardy's death. All they had indicated was that they didn't occurred in the workplace, and whether that was the garbage truck or the bin or the landfill, that's all workplaces. Things that are systemically impeding progress. They're barriers that aren't being addressed or weren't being addressed, or were but weren't being changed quick enough. Human rights, obviously, which is, definitely something that needs to be maintained and upheld, and human rights of individuals in life and in death. So you have health and safety, you have human rights, you have environment and climate, right? Because that's the whole department that governed the landfill, okay? And then you have the City of Winnipeg, which is a public body because they own the landfill. And you have a company that owns PGL, and you have various trucks and companies that drive the trucks, and you have training that has to be provided to the landfill workers, right? So all of these pieces are pieces that can contribute systemically. But if looked at all of these pieces individually and attacking each one and seeing, okay, if we do this here, if we do this here, if we do this here, and if we do this here, maybe there'll be something impactful enough that it'll make a significant change, and it won't be barrier after barrier, because we'll be able to identify all of those barriers, we'll be able to address all of them, and we'll follow up with them, right? To ensure that they're actually being actioned on. So it takes a long time to do this, but I think it's necessary, and I think it's something that likely an inquest maybe would provide. And we know that there's an inquest related to the JS murders that's on the table, but the one that was related to the SL murders was pulled. So there is no inquest request for Tanya. Even so, I don't even think that inquest has been started yet. So if there were issues that needed to be addressed and actioned upon, when were they going to be told to us? Like, how much later, right? So those are some things that kind of concern me, and why I wanted to look into this more, and why I pursued it so much. Litigation. And I really started looking into that. That's when it became, in my mind, something that was like, it triggered something in me, and it was like, well, why is it happening again? And even though it was the police alleged she climbed in, it wasn't a good enough answer. That's not a reason to close the books, right? That's not a reason to say enough and let's move on now. It's really a reason and a cause to look even further into what is happening. It calls for justice, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, all of that stuff has resources, right? So we know that people can educate themselves, but are people really doing that? I think we're obligated to provide that education and training in every workplace, regardless of where the person works or what service or product they're providing. Because if we're in a genocide, if we say we're in a genocide of MMIWG2S+, then everybody should know why and how they can help. And how are we learning, and is it being monitored? Are we learning regularly? Because circumstances and situations change. So this should really be like what you have to provide through AODA or health and safety. All of those required trainings that you have to provide through your onboarding should be given consideration for MMIP training and even greater Indigenous cultural and safety awareness training.